town. I just come from the poet's part.
It's time for a part Season 1 Retrospective.
St. Patrick, aka Ghost, opens Truth nightclub, hoping it's successful. Let him leave his life as an NYC drug kingpin, but a run-in with a past love and a drug-related attack threaten him. So, 50 Cent, obviously the creator of this show, his music is throughout this, and Ghost and his wife, Tasha St. Patrick, well, last name St. Patrick, they enter the club. It's completely filled to the brim. His partner tells him this is the best nightclub opening ever. We're 400, even though the fire marshal says we're only allowed 325. He's loving life. He doesn't give a fuck. But apparently there's some business that he needs to handle downstairs. But before we get to that business, I understand, right? He's opened a club, but at the same time, do we really need to see like club scenes so much? We're only in the first episode, and I'd say about like 10 minutes at the first episode were literally just music in the club, right? So anyone watching this show, you'll be of a certain age where you've been in a club, you've been in a nightclub, you've been in a bar. We know how it works. I really hope throughout these 6 seasons we don't get this like these nightclub montages, man, unless they're warranted. Honestly, because it would get old really quick. And even in this premiere, I was like, I really need to see one of these again. You're trying to watch it, man. You don't want to be getting a banging headache. Dun 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 dun. 50 Cent music in the club, everybody. You know, he heads downstairs, but apparently there's an issue. We're introduced to Thomas Egan. It is Ghost's best friend. I'm going to assume it's his best friend. And he's interrogating Miguel Alvarez about where the money is. Because apparently one of their drivers got hit last night, stole a lot of money. And that is essentially what the plot line of this episode is. These two trying to figure out who stole all their money. Who put it in motion. Obviously this guy did, but yeah, this guy gets threatened, but his girlfriend gets let to go. Ghost is like, oh, we can't kill her because she could have ties to the cartel and then they'll come looking for us. Yeah, but at the same time, so what about this guy? He could have ties, but they drop him. They drop Miguel, like, but the woman has to go. Yeah, it just seems a bit weird. Of course, Miguel Alvarez is played by Manny Montana, so a really good acting choice there. I actually genuinely thought, maybe this guy have a big part to play. But then he says, I ain't afraid to die, and then goes like, well, I ain't afraid to kill you, and then drops him. You know what? A pretty cool kill. But I'm surprised. I actually thought his Manny Montana's character would last a wee bit longer, but he didn't. And that's the sad reality of it here. So he gets absolutely gunned down. And these two, we've got Ghost. He's going to have to do stuff. Him and his wife leave the club. He doesn't get home to a wee bit later that night. We kind of see him shut down all his like networks, so all these people get the text of 86. So we can't do it anymore. We have to get shut down for the night until we find out who it is. So yeah, the next morning his wife's like, well, I can make you feel a bit better. And I was wondering like, how explicit is this show going to be? I don't know what the Stars network is like. I've never actually heard it. This is like the only show I've ever heard that is on the Stars network. But I thought, but drug kingpins in fucking New York City, 50 Cent's behind it. There's probably going to be a lot of nudity. And damn, was I right? Because Ghost and Tasha get straight down to business here. St. Patrick would be turning in his grave at the amount of freaky stuff that was going on here. But it's weird. It's like, he's doing missionary, he's doing doggy, he's doing everything, and throughout this, he's just imagining killing. Well, not imagining, he's just like thinking about Miguel, how he killed him. I'm like, is this guy a bit gay, or what's going on here? I understood. Oh, he's showing remorse for kill. Yeah, hold on, no. Right, the guy's been in this like drug kingpin shit. You know, he started from the bottom. Now he's there for like what 20 years. He kills a guy, and suddenly, oh, damn. Don't like this. Don't like the way this is going, man. Come on. Come on. Absolutely not, to be honest. But he wakes up and guess what, guys? We've got to take care of business. So we see him. He goes to Carlos Ruiz. He's like, my shipment's got to USA. And then this Ghost can speak a bit of Spanish, which I was kind of wondering about. I wonder how he can speak Spanish. But we see more pickups throughout the day. Like the Truth nightclub like manager, he kind of just gets spoke down to a lot. I get it, these two are kingpins in New York with the drug stuff, but yeah, they're treating this guy like pure duck, which is kind of funny at the same time, but as what it is. We kind of get like a quick wee introduction to Ghost's family. don't really care, if I'm being honest. And then there was like a really weird scene of like the driver who drives Ghost about. Can't actually remember his name, but he looks at Tasha's ass as she's like bending into the fridge, and I was like, is he gonna do something now? Turns out she does something a wee bit later on. But throughout this episode, they're trying to figure out like what is happening with these shipments and who stole from them, and they don't really get anywhere. If I'm being honest, like you would think surely that these two, being like top dogs, they would get somewhere. So it just constant like tripping over each other. We get to like the next night. They're at the nightclub. Ghost kind of speaks down to his wife like, "No, you're not trying to get in for free. Wear that purple dress I bought you." It's like this guy's telling his wife how it is, which I thought was a wee bit out of line. It was a wee bit out of line for Ghost personally, but I mean it is what it is. He's a drug kingpin in New York City, brother. And also when they did go to the cartel guy, who I cannot actually remember his name. Felipe Lopez, is that who it is? I don't know, right? Whoever the top cartel guy is, the cartel guy makes him sound like a fucking bitch. And like even the way the guy walks about, and he's walking about with his number two, and he doesn't even take his arms out of his jacket. His number two takes it off. What the fuck? Come on. That's a wee bit, but and this guy just does not strike me as a cartel leader. I'm sorry, people can say what they want, but he is just not a cartel leader in my personal opinion. Is what it is though. I guess we got to move on. Yeah, like I said, we get to the club that night. Ghost is running about. He's kind of like frantic, and then he spots this woman on the dance floor. This woman who kind of looks, late 30s. Nothing spectacular about her, and he goes down. His wife thinks she's coming down for him, and then he actually goes to her. It turns out they know each other, and then he's like, "Did he just call you boss?" He's like, "Yeah, I own this nightclub, baby." And then yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I need to get your number. I need to get your number." Turns out, in a later conversation with Tommy Egan, these two were like childhood sweethearts till she left him to go pursue a lawyer job, which is fair enough. I'm kind of wondering here. We've just been introduced to this guy. What he's going to job out his wife, and then his wife at that night later jobs him out because when she gets picked up by the driver, she pulls down like the wee glass thing in between the back seats and the front seats, takes off her underwear, and then starts having a little freaky time with herself. And I'm like, what's this all about, man? Honestly, like, I mean, she's 3 kids to this guy, and here she is jobbing them out after no proof, right? There is no. I know. She could be like, oh, but you were getting her number. For fuck, you know your husband is high up, man. He could have been getting the number for any reason. But albeit we know why he's getting the number because he wants to get into Angela. But anyway, I digress. And yeah, and what happens next actually? Yeah, the cartel guy goes and meets with Carlos Ruiz, who has his own wee crew. And then we see this guy with like a teardrop tattoo, like watching this. He was watching a few things this episode. I'm kind of thinking, when is this guy going to come in to play? We then cut to an elevator scene where one of their sellers gets into the elevator and this couple walks in, but she spots a tattoo on this guy. And then when she tries to get out, she gets attacked by both of them. She ends up getting slashed in the face, but she ends up shooting the guy, and then the woman escapes. And then we cut to Angela, and then we're introduced to the woman's in The Sopranos. I can't remember her name. Artie's wife, Charmaine Bucco, right? So she's in this show. The actress who plays her, she is like the lead lawyer here. And then it turns out there's a task force against the cartel, but they don't know. So the lawyers are obviously going to be helping the police here. It's cartel, I mean, it's like a RICO case, whatever you want to call it, man. It's a big police case against the cartel, right? And they're like, well, he's here because someone is distributing his drugs here in NYC and they're the biggest kingpin. Are you trying to tell me that they don't know who the fuck this is? Obviously, this is setting up for a dramatic reveal, right? For Angela to find out it's Ghost. But would it not have just been better that this PowerPoint presentation here that they were doing was that it's Ghost? How would they not know? How do the police, right, and these lawyers and everyone connected to this case not know who it is? It's not even like they went through where the most likely candidates. They did nothing, and to me that's just a bit retarded. Why wouldn't they do that? I honestly, genuinely do not get that. How they would not know. But then they're going through Ghost. They're like, well, they're like obviously they're talking about Ghost, but they don't know it's Ghost. Well, the contact his family could be in danger. We could use that to our leverage. We know that the cartel is not happy about the fact that some of their shipments have been hit. and could be likely to off Ghost. We could be viewed as an ally for whoever this drug kingpin is here in NYC. Now the episode kind of ends with Ghost by himself looking around, and it's like, oh, are they going to get to Ghost? Obviously, right? This guy, I doubt very much that this guy is going to turn rat, but I just feel like it's ridiculous that you're led to believe here that the police do not have any inkling about who this main person is in New York City. Like, come on. Like, it's not like. I mean, I know you could argue in Breaking Bad they didn't really know it was Gus, but they knew about the Salamancas, they knew about all that, and Hank managed to figure out it was Gus. I mean, we're not talking about the guy who cooks the meth like Heisenberg. There's no real reason for them to know it's Heisenberg. But, like, surely they would have some knowledge about who is high up the food chain, man. Anyway, that is it for episode 1 of season 1 of Power. There is only 8 episodes in season 1, which is intriguing. Usually you also get like 10 or 13, sometimes 16 or something. Or if it's Prison Break, you get like 24, or Lost as well. But what am I going to give this episode out of 10? I'm going to give it a 6. I thought it was a decent premiere. It gets you intrigued. It sets up a story for the rest of the season. But like I said, I feel like there is just a few problems with it. But you know what? No, not one. I mean, maybe Tommy Egan strikes me as like the best character so far. Kick off the episode. We're in the elevator. We are in the elevator. We have got one of the dealers. She is slashed in the face, of course, for last episode. So basically, the start of this episode is them sorting that whole situation out. She gets sent to hospital while they dispose of the body. But of course, we know someone else got away. But it looks like these people are from Miami. We then get. And Tommy, damn it, Tommy, they're discussing it. Tommy kind of wants, like, I like the fact there's a conflict of interest here, but they respect each other no matter how different their opinions are. I feel like it definitely shows you two best friends that have been through a lot. So I like that, but essentially here, he doesn't want to do anything too risky, but again, he doesn't want to bring the cartel into the loop, because then once the cartel are in, we're under them, essentially, is what we get here. So this is quite interesting here. I like this talk between these two. Then the driver guy, I cannot remember his name, right? But Tommy wants him with him, and then Ghost is like, no, and he's like, you know what, aye. Turns out the driver's father is basically who brought these two into the game. And it's weird, because, like, you've got a completely... It's almost a completely black crew, and then there's Tommy. He's like the blackest white guy I've ever seen in TV history. Like, I'm not even joking, like, when I say that. He really, really is, but at the end of the day, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. As we move on, we then see Tasha and her mother. Oh, Jesus Christ, man! It almost fucking blew my ears off. Like, those two discussions, she's like, honey, there is always another ass, which Tasha kind of knows about, but her mother's like, how are you going to get alimony with all that money when the feds know there's no income? But the whole gimmick is, like, they're going legit here. So surely there would be a form of income, even with the alimony, man. Come on. Play the game, son. Play the game. Then we get Angie, right, with her hair tied up. And I think she's almost unrecognisable here. She's talking to, like, her mother or something, but the woman almost looks like far too old or young to be her mother. So I don't really know, but she, like, leaves a message for the FBI guy, but it's not happening. Tommy then speaks to the driver, says, we need you, big man. We need you if a war goes down, so that's why I want to train you up your daddy taught us. So a bit of history here that I liked. We then get introduced to someone from Vogue magazine, so that's what Ghost is trying to do this episode. He's trying to lock down a contact with Vogue magazine, who want to come to the nightclub, man. Truth. They want to come to Truth. This woman is, like, far too tall, in my opinion. Tommy then runs into the barmaid. He's like, here, do you want me to make it? You can be there in the VIP section, but she quite like that. So will they be able to lock Vogue down? Who really knows? But at this point, Ghost, like, he wants to switch up the phones because they're wondering how the hell they're tracking them, which is fair enough. We then cut to, like, another FBI lawyer sit down, they're discussing it, and the guy called Sachs jobs out Angie here, basically went against her back, but also her FBI boyfriend that's in this case didn't tell her key information, so she's left in the dark here and is made to look like a bit of a dickhead. Then we see the driver guy. He confronts Tasha. He says to her,
Well, you do know I saw you the other night in the back. You did want me to see you, didn't you? Right, mate. She's put down the window and stripped in front of you. I know it was half a rhetorical question from the guy, but let's not be ridiculous here, man. And then she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about, so I don't know what game she's playing. I feel like this driver guy's going to get a pretty brutal death sooner rather than later. Angie, though, is obviously not happy about what happened with her FBI boyfriend. She then heads to Ghost, and then Ghost's like, sure, we'll have a wee drink later. And then like, they kind of like joke about when they were kids. I was like, seriously? Is this. I understand they're trying to form that these two had a relationship in the past, and like they're also kind of like still teasing at it. But is that all we're going to get? For like, I'm not saying the whole 6 seasons, but I understand, right? These two had a relationship ages ago. But can we? I don't know. I'm intrigued about all the business, right? With the cartel, drugs, gangs, but see his wife going on like side missions to figure out if he's doing anything, or like Angie's love life. Yes, it's still connected to the like the world, I guess you could say, like the criminal world, because obviously Ghost is like top man. She's trying to figure out who top man is, etc. But I do feel like it's a wee bit filler, some of it. We then cut to Tommy playing video games, damn it, with Ghost's son. The son then goes to do his homework, so Ghost and Tommy are sitting here on the Xbox 360, which I thought was kind of fun. I have no idea what game this is. I probably should, but I don't. Then one of the dealers gets chased through like an apartment complex by obviously one of these Miami people, but we don't know who it is. Ghost and Tasha are then on a date, which she suggests to use the whole Demican tactics that were used back in the day, and like they're trying to speak in code here. Meanwhile, we've got Angie, whatever you want to call her. She's like getting changed throughout this, so it's like, oh, is Ghost's head really with his wife, or does he want to cheat on his wife? I don't know. I feel like for early on in the show, it's very early on, like for the main and protagonist to be like conflicted in his love. I don't know. That's just my opinion. But then her FBI boyfriend shows up, and then Tasha and Ghost come through the door, and then we have like a synchronized sex scene where we've got Tasha and Ghost, and then we've got Angie as well. But she's like demanding for it rougher, and I think she's thinking of Ghost, and then Ghost is plying Tasha while he's thinking of Angie. So who knows how this is going to go for these two. But then see later on in the club, Fogue going on. Fogue want to take a picture with Ghost. Things are going well, but then Tommy shouts like, "Why the fuck didn't you answer your phone, man? This was never us. This was never us. Damn it, never us." He's like, "What the fuck needs handled?" And Ghost's like, "Yeah, you're right, Tommy. You know what? We need to send a message." We then cut to Angie the next day. They're interrogating one of Ruiz's guys who's actually with Ruiz's 14-year-old daughter. And this was a good scene for Angie. She managed to get one up over Sax by getting the guy to sign to an agreement, because she whips out a phone and it's like, we know you're dating, or you're going with Ruiz's 14-year-old daughter, and obviously this guy is very reluctant to sign, but he has to. After she shows him a picture of an underage kid naked. Like, holy moly, this show is really explicit, isn't it? If we're being honest, man, it really is. So yeah, he's kind of backed into a corner here. Like, I know you're always led to believe that everyone has a choice. I mean, you could argue with this guy. I guess he could have fucking said no, it's not her. He could have just denied it to the end, and because like Angie says, it wasn't even a picture of Reese's girl. It was someone else's. So that's quite intriguing. After this, we see basically like all these like severed body parts turn up. It's obviously all these Dominican, not Dominican like, but all the Miami contacts that were doing this. We then see the woman who gets slashed in the start of the episode last, and the end of last episode. She gets told basically you can't be delivering anymore. So she's actually been promoted, which Tommy thought she was going to get killed. He's like, how'd you do this without making any noise? So again, Tommy and Ghost are conflicting here. Tommy and Angie then meet, and they're talking about how they got on in field trips. But I don't know, man. This just feels very weird that these two are still going in this relationship. But then our boss tells us that you need to drop everything you got on the side and you need to focus. And then Tasha starts taking her clothes while getting picked up by the driver again. And then all these Miami people get text that saying, go back to Miami. The job is over for now. So obviously these severed bodies is making all the difference here. And then the episode ends with Ghost getting back to his apartment and his baby's crying with the dolphin keyring under her. So what's that? Is that Tasha's placed it there thinking like, haha, you've cheated on me, Ghost, and this is how I know. This is my proof. I'm not too sure. But you know what? It was an alright episode. But was it really better than the premiere? I'm not too sure, if I'm being honest. I don't really know what I'm even going to rate it. I gave the premiere a 6. But I honestly, was this episode better? I feel like it was a bit filler. Like, I feel like it kicked off really strong. Like, I think all the gang stuff's good, but there's too much focus on other stuff that there doesn't really need to be on. And I feel like I'm already thinking of that as the show is going on right now. So who knows, guys? But I'm going to give this episode a 5 out of 10. I've still faith that this show could be really good and I'll enjoy it, but 11 out of 20 so far isn't exactly ideal. It's called This Is Real. But is it real? Because you know what it feels like to me? It feels like a video game. It feels like GTA Ballad of Gay Tony. I've hit the nail on the head with this one. That is literally what this TV show feels like. You've got nightclubs, you've got drugs. It's in New York City. That's what Liberty City is. That's what it honestly feels like to me. And I feel like with Tommy, the fact he's like the only white guy in this like entire crew just even more points towards like the Bally guy Tony, because of course Tony was gay. So he stood out like Tommy does in this. That's my personal opinion. But what's my personal opinion of the episode? Well, we have to dive off into the start of it where we get some more nightclub stuff, right? We have Ghost and Angela text each other. During this, though, a woman takes coke and then ODs, overdoses, but guess what? She manages to survive. But of course, this is bad publicity for the Truth nightclub, and Ghost isn't too happy about this. But I don't know, it just seems a wee bit hypocritical to me that a guy that sells drugs is like making out like, this bastard sold them bad drugs. I don't understand how like drug dealers can take the high ground. Like, you see TV shows, at least if they know they're getting it for me, they're getting a better product. See, unless you're fucking Walter White, I don't think you can actually argue that claim, right? That's my personal opinion. There we do see Agent, or what's his name? Agent Greg Knox, FBI Agent Greg Knox. He raps at the door of Angela, but this is what I don't get, right? So these two are essentially a couple, but then Angela wants to be with Ghost, but then Ghost is married. It's like, well, what is this? It's like fucking, it's like, wait, are we 15 here? These are people with big high-ranking jobs and also are fucking married. Anyway, I digress. We gotta move on, and they are phone called by Nomar, and this Nomar guy, I thought he just had a thing for Carlos Ruiz's daughter, who's 14, so it automatically makes him a fucking nonce. It turns out this guy's got a thing for everybody who's like 13 or under, 14 or under, whatever, which automatically is fucking weird. But the thing he sent them do here is bogus. And then he's like, you're going to blow my cover here. You're the only white guy in a Spanish-speaking location of NYC, damn. Which I can kind of see Nomar's point, but at the end of the day, mate, you've agreed to cooperate, so you need to be spoken. He's almost acting here as if he's the string puller, which I don't really get. We then see Ghost and Tommy talking about what will need to be done, and the fact that things look like they're pretty much, easing out at this point. But then get Sean Stark, he's talking to Ghost. Ghost tells him, why don't you visit your dad? And I'm sitting here thinking, who's his dad? Who's actually his dad at this point? Turns out his dad is none other than 50 Cent by the name of Kanan Stark, the creator of this show. And I obviously this is only season 1, and they did mention here that the fact that He's been inside since Sean was 9. This Sean guy looks like, what, he's early 20s now. So I'm hoping that 50 Cent is getting released for jail soon and that he can lay the smack down in this show. We see more stuff with the FBI. They're kind of like on each other's heels. Like you've got Angela and Greg trying to do their own thing, then the other two are trying to do their own thing. But essentially, Charmaine, Frankie Lavaro is saying to them, well, you know what, guys, let them do their thing, let you do your own thing, and we'll try and bring these guys down together, which I get. And I don't know how many times they want to like portray this gimmick of Ghost as like he's stuck between his family life, the crime life, and then the nightclub life. Like at this point, you're about 2.5 episodes into the series, and you feel like they've played this card about 10 times. Like how many times does this guy already at this point be like, oh sorry honey, I can't get home tonight, I've got business with the club, or he's in at the club and he's like, oh alright Josh, can't do this mate, I have to go see Tommy, or then he has to blow off Tommy, or no, I've got to pick up Tasha. I mean, what is this? The guy doesn't know what to be at. He really he really doesn't. Tommy does voice his displeasure about the fact that they've kept the dealer that got slashed in the face alive. Tasha then finds out that Ghost has hoovered money out of their bank, which she's not happy about. Turns out the money that he hoovered out of it, right, is just so he could actually fund this whole nightclub idea that he had. And she has a fucking proper go at him. And it's like, who are you? You're a fucking nobody. This is a guy, yeah, he's a drug dealer, but I mean, he's built this empire. That would be like Skylar and Breaking Ball. Why have you took a 10 for money, Walter? Shut the fuck up, man. Alright, you've done hee-haw. Just like this stupid bastard. Didn't get this one bit. He then visits the overdose, so it's like the overdose victim who fainted. They're from like Ukraine or something. This was before the Ukraine-Russia war, I guess. So I mean, there's not like, oh, we're forcing them in there, but yeah, looks like this person's not going to press charges. So from that perspective, it looks like the nightclub ain't going to be facing anything too bad in that regard. But you're sitting here wondering at this point, right, what are Angela and Ghost going to do? Then they like kiss in public, right? And no, I don't get about this. Surely Ghost, even though like, oh, he tries to keep a low profile, that can only work to a certain degree. Surely in New York City, this guy would be known, man. This guy surely would be known. Sean then visits his dad. This is when we get the first scene of 50 Cent. And like they like trade shoes, which was just weird. So it's like, hold on here, the trade shoes. They're just going to let him trade shoes with him. I don't know. That just seems stupid. He actually turns up like and just gives his dad a pair of fucking trainers, and that's pretty much the height of the conversation. He already does tell Canan, or whatever you pronounce his name, man. Canan, that's it. That's his name, Canan. He's like, Ghost has got me being his driver. I was like, I was wondering when this day would happen. Then we see a few members of the crew get attacked by this guy, but then Tommy manages to save them. And then Tommy starts torturing them. You know what? Of like torture scenes that I've seen throughout movies and TV shows, this was actually a pretty good one. I mean, actually pouring like lighter fluid all over him, like proper oil, and then like setting each part of his like limbs on fire in order to get him to talk. Pretty smart plan. You can't dispute that really here. And eventually they get him to talk, and then he does end up revealing a name. And the name is, I can't even remember who the name is. Then the guy appears, but there's actually just so many names. But essentially, Ghost doesn't want to believe it's this guy. And the guy that he's burnt alive here, Tommy, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Ghost, I did a medium rare. It's got a cheap pop out of me, right? I got a cheap pop out of me. But essentially, Ghost does not want anybody here to find out about this. So he said he's not going to kill anybody until he knows for sure, which is fair enough, but you've kind of blown your cover to the guy who could potentially be. And the contact that the farm was going to be delivered to was a woman, which we see proof of. We see a woman escaping on a boat. So, you know what? That's fair enough. I'm not going to bury that too much. But again, I feel like it's weak leadership for Ghost. And I don't understand this, right? I get it that Tommy and Ghost came up alongside each other from when they were kids and they've kind of built this empire together. But surely Ghost being in this whole nightclub business and just not really picking up where it needs to be picked up and not interfering is surely undermining the entire organisation. I think if this was any bit realistic, he'd be getting called out a little bit more here for Tommy. That's my personal opinion anyway on the matter. But it looks like this is going to result in something potentially. And then as Ghost returns home, he hears his daughter choking, and it turns out she's choking on the key ring that he bought Angela. Well, they bought each other one at the end of last episode, so. But his wife doesn't notice this, but then he's figuring. But is this supposed to show him that, oh, this is risky, being with your wife than trying to be with another woman? It's like, it's just a fucking keyring. I don't know, how did the keyring even get left in his like 2-year-old's crib? I don't know. Then he buys his wife expensive jewellery, then he buys Angela expensive jewellery. I just feel like they're focusing way too much on like this guy's personal life with his wife and his high school love heart for like 18 years ago. The stuff that's actually focusing on the crew is good, and I'm not saying, of course, with Angela, she's in the FBI, she's a lawyer, and like they're doing this whole task force. She doesn't even know it's going to end up being against this guy, which is intriguing. But I feel like there's far too much emphasis on his personal life. I feel like that needs to take a step back, and it's the fact only 8 episodes in season 1. That's 3 in. Anyway, I think it was better than episode 2, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. But I'm yet to be blown away. I am yet to be blown away, guys. We are now halfway through season 1 of Par, with episode 4 in the books, and this one is called Who Are You? So let's dive straight into it. We kick off with a wee shot of New York City with Angela trying on a necklace, and she's hinting that she is an absolute queen. So yeah, looking interesting here. We've got Tommy and Ghost discussing what needs done next. So obviously they're talking about this meet that's going to go down, and it's looking interesting about what's going to happen here. We see Ghost kind of question about the fact, should I call this thing off with Angie? Because my his daughter, of course, died. And then we do see this episode, Tommy manages to go on a date with like the bartender at Truth. There's an awful lot here, not really. The Vogue magazine person then shows up, and they talk about here, we're going to have more meets here, and it's alright. I don't know, it's just weird to me though that this woman is like 10 foot taller. Tommy's on his date. They go into a bar. He ends up getting thrown out for battering the guy, and she's like, that was awesome. And then they go back to his apartment. We haven't seen this apartment. I like the fact we're getting a wee bit more of a development towards Tommy here. I am liking that an awful lot. Angela and Ghost then meet up, and they start kissing. And she's like, so what, are we a thing now? And he's like, my 3-year-old daughter almost choked to death, Angie. And then he's just like, you've got a kid? And he's like, I've got 3 and I'm married. I was like, holy God, man. That must have been an absolute bombshell to her. Mustn't it? Like, absolutely brutal. She can't believe it. And then she's like, right, well, I've got a boyfriend. And then, like, Ghost is, like, equally hurt by that, I guess you could say. But then, like, I mean, maybe you could say it's... But she thought he was single. I mean, even if but he knew it didn't really matter if she was single because he's got a family. But you know what, this is a good scene. It looks like they're going to go their separate ways. They're not going to no longer remain friends. Ghost watches Angela as you say goodbye. Sort of ordeal. So yeah, looking interesting. And then we get like a mad, freaky scene. We get Tommy and the barmaid getting down and dirty in his apartment, which his apartment was like very empty. It was very, it was just like a gaming chair and like an Xbox 360 setup. So, and then just a bed in the middle of it, which is absolutely mad. So yeah, they're taking lines, they're doing gear, and they're getting stuck into each other. And Angie though, she doesn't really know what to do at this point with her necklace. We've got Sean, he's following Tasha around, and then Tasha then tells Ghost, like, you got to tell Sean that lay back off the leash, damn it. But then the FBI have a meeting again, and they're just not really buying that this meet's going down. Obviously, we've got Angela and Greg that are buying this is going down, but the rest of them aren't really too much. We then get Nomar. He manages to find out the location of the meet from the 14-year-old daughter, but obviously Angela's not happy with that. She's like, lay off Isabella. And I don't know, what sort of problems would come up about the fact that her contact is he is a paedophile, and she's exploiting a 14-year-old girl in order to get info. Surely that would not be good for her. I can't see a world where that is good for Angie like Angela. Honestly, I do not see that. So that'll be interesting to see if that ever comes out. She wants him to wear a wire, but he's not close enough to the business. We then have Tasha questioning Ghost, not Ghost, Tommy about Ghost, but he's not really buying it. Greg then comes over. He says, maybe I should start putting my clothes over here. He goes to open a drawer, and then she's like, closes it, and then he's like, is there someone else? And she's like, no. But obviously that drawer has the necklace in it. So then we cut to the next day. We've got this whole FBI meeting. Ghost and Tom are on the way to. We've got the FBI there. They're watching over the Chinatown house where this meeting in the restaurant's going to take place. We then have the other two FBI guys, and it's funny. They're like, who would you rather do, Valdez or Frankie? And he's like, but Frankie don't take dick. And he's like, but if she did, he's like, I'd do Frankie. Then the other guy, Sachs, or Cox, whatever the fuck this guy's called, Sachs, Cox, man. He's like, I'd do Valdez. It would make a change to see her so full of herself because she could be full of me. And the other guy goes, half full. And he's like, shut the fuck up. I thought it was really funny. Then the police, NYPD, turn up at the Truth nightclub and essentially demand that Ghost turns up. And Ghost just jobs Tommy out here. You've got this big, massive meat, and he jobs him out. Like, completely jobs him out. There's no two ways about spinning this. He absolutely gets jobbed out. Then your big fat man, Anarellas, or whatever you pronounce him, comes through, and he gets his throat slit. Turns out it's by that woman who's supposed to be going back to Miami, so who knows how that's going to go. Ghost turns up. The NYPD are essentially just saying here, we're going to have to shut this down for 2 weeks. We've got one of the agents or police officers here is played by, I can't remember his name, but he played Jackie Aprile Jr. in The Sopranos. So yeah, he hasn't really aged, to be honest. I mean, he's aged a wee bit, but nothing major. And then Ghost just bribes them, like whips out a big fat stack of cash and's like, hopefully you can make this go away, sort of thing. And then Pantos is like, you do know they'll just be back for more, which is absolutely right, but let's be real, they could have absolutely just, like, when we're arresting you on bribery here, and they would have been fucked. But obviously that didn't happen. We then get Sean and Tommy. They arrive at the meet. Tommy basically tells Sean this is where you're going to earn your stripes today, son. Just look ahead, don't make eye contact with anyone, and also lay off Tasha. It's a bit, you don't need to lay it on thick. That's for Ghost to do to his wife, which I thought was quite a interesting scene. So yeah, the FBI though, we've got Angela and Greg. They're kind of distorted of it. Should we bust in because there's all these secret tunnels? But they just finally decide on busting in. But it's weird seeing this dynamic though of Tommy being like the main guy. He's talking to the two crews. Ruiz isn't very happy. Seems like they're going to turn their business other way. So Tommy, even though under strict orders from Ghost to not turn the whole pipeline back on, he does in order to keep the customers in. Then the FBI do the raid. Turns out it's on the wrong restaurant. As Tommy moved the meat as a precaution, Ghost then returns home. He then gets a phone call from the cartel, which informs him that you are not very good, Ghost. We thought you'd deal with this problem, and you didn't. And it turns out Ruiz is actually the guy who put all these plays in motion. Then Tommy shows up. Ghost then grabs Tommy. He's like, did you fucking kill Ruiz? And, well, not Ruiz, the big fat guy. Which I think is incredibly unfair for, like, Tommy to be accused of this. And I don't know, I feel like we're in episode 4 here, and you almost feel like Ghost is losing complete control. I don't know. I feel like for halfway through season 1, for him to accuse his best friend, lifelong fucking business partner, or whatever, of doing this is pretty extreme, in my opinion. I don't know. We then managed to find the drug dealer at Truth. Ghost then phones Tommy, so Tommy's going to deal with that. Angela's breaking down, crying. She puts the necklace on. She then heads to Truth. She's like, Ghost, I can't do it, man. I can't do this. She's like, we can't remain friends. He's like, yeah, I know. Sean shows up at Tasha's house. She's got her ass out. It's like, well, damn. And like, yeah. The fact he's the son of Kanan, though, I just don't see anything happening to him. Unless like they do it behind his back or something, which would make for an interesting dynamic. But like I say, back to Truth. We then get Angela and Ghost getting it on. Damn it. The drug deal gets thrown a beat down by Tommy. and then the episode kind of just ends with like a sexy montage. So yeah, who knows how this is gonna play out, guys, going into episode 5. I feel like it's probably the best episode of the season. I like the whole sit down, but I think the problem with it is like the whole bribery thing could have went anyway, and I don't like the fact that Ghost has got such a problem with Tommy. I don't know, like he just seems to be prioritizing this nightclub so much. It feels a wee bit forced to me, but it's weird. It's like forced, but it's like season 1. What are we even doing in season 1? So anytime will tell me at least the next couple of episodes should be interesting with them disposing of Ruiz and shit like that. So I'm looking forward to that. That shall be interesting, guys. But yeah, for this episode, I'm going to give it a 7, which means it's the highest rating that I've gave the show. So I want you to like, comment, subscribe. I'm looking forward to seeing how they like wrap up finales and what the big deal is going to be for season 2. I don't really know what it's going to be. Obviously, at some point, Angela's going to find out about Ghost. That shall be interesting. But at the same time, it's still a good series. It's yet to hit me with a, oh, this is fucking epic sort of thing. Like, it's weird. Like, you get this sort of vibe that it is on like a big budget, but then at the same time, it's not. I don't know. I don't know, guys. But I'm going to get a 7 out of 10. Up next will be episode 5. Yeah, that shall be interesting too. I gotta go, player. It is episode 5 of season 1 of Par, and yeah, we're into the second half of this season. Are things going to pick up? Well, I think they did pick up certainly a wee bit in this episode, if I'm being honest. We kick off the episode with Angela. She's getting ready. She then like meets with Ghost back in Truth, and then she gets a wee lift home for Sean. But it really begs the question here: can Ghost trust Sean to such a degree where if he's sleeping around, but like it's the first time he slept around and cheated on his wife? I guess you could say, alright, that Tommy knows about when Tommy was talking to him about this, like back in episode 2, but yeah, it's not a good look here for Ghost. I feel like he could definitely do a better job of hiding his affair with Angela, is my personal opinion. But at the end of the day, if I was playing Angela, I would probably not really remember. We then see his daughter singing, and yeah, the whole gimmick here is that she wants to get the play part at school. But that's what I didn't get about this. Is this really necessary? Do we need to see this? This is like the definition of filler. I understand we have to, bleach out this guy's family. We have to stretch it out. We have to have a little bit of a deep dive, so to speak, into Ghost's family. But I just don't really care for any of this. So it looks like Ghost and Angela are going to have a meet later on. But then have the FBI having a sit down. Frankie's basically berating everyone about the simple fact is that they've kind of all blew the mission and that they're all kind of to blame, whether it be Sax, Greg, JJ. JJ's the guy who plays in Mayans, like, or this guy. You've got Angela. Who's to blame? It is a bit of a blame game at this point. But then the agent spots Greg and Angela in a precarious position that he puts 2 and 2 together here, that looks like used to have been boning. Will he bring this suspicions to later? Hopefully, probably. We then get a meet between Tommy, Ghost, and Diaz. Diaz is like, right, if you guys just want to fucking accuse me of this, then come out and say it. So yeah, looks like they don't really trust Diaz here, and surely he must be like fearing for his life. I'm not really buying this. Like, if these guys are above him, surely he put like contingencies in place to make sure that like these guys couldn't kill him. But maybe they gave him his word. They gave him their word, and he thinks that's good enough. So fair enough. Sean wants to step up and kill Diaz, but Ghost shuts this down. And Tommy says, "Well, when are we ever going to let this guy hang, man? You need to get off his tits. He needs to get off your tits, damn it." But Ghost is like, "No, not yet. We need to keep him close." Angela then tries working with the NYPD. The full contact shows up and talks to Ghost, but is she just going to appear randomly every couple of fucking episodes or scenes or something, man? Not really too fussed on this character, if I'm being honest. But again, I guess we've got to have the nightclub side of things in full effect. That's what it does. Like, I mean, I know you could say it's just a nightclub, but to me, it actually does feel like Battle of the Gay 20 an awful lot. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I think the Battle of the Gay 20 was a very good game. Tommy then comes in, pays for the Jamaicans basically to order the hit on Ruiz, but we've seen someone watching, but it turns out the guy watching is the guy who was going to be doing the hit later on, so I don't know if he's going to like job Tommy out here, but then again, if the Jamaicans know that the hit is for reasons, then I don't really see what the problem is, to be honest. Maybe this was just a bit of foreshadowing for this guy because he'd be looking at later on, but yeah, so this hit is going to be put in motion. We then have the play where the kid is trying to sing. But you know what? The white kid sounded better than the black kid, and that may sound racist or whatever, but that is the fact. Tasha just can't fucking hold the L that her daughter's just not as good a singer as the other person. And the other mom was right. She's like, I don't want to get your kid's hopes up. and you know what? She shouldn't have got her fucking hopes up because she wasn't as good a singer as the other girl, which, you know, fair enough. We then see Ghost and Angela meeting in a restaurant and they talk about old times, and he's like how he saved every penny here to take her to this very restaurant when they were like younger. And no, it gets me right. It seems like with these two, everything's just a nostalgia trip. Like, oh, I remember 18 years ago, which I think works, but at the end of the day, are these two going to get together and just call it a thing, or like, what's going on? It just feels like they're purposely dragging it out for the sake of like the big reveal, like when she finds out he's like the top man. It's like, oh no, you broke my heart. You've broke my heart, Ghost. You've absolutely went and done it this time, big man. Tommy then says to Tasha that he thinks he's bringing about his new girlfriend over for dinner, so that's all set. There is Angela and Ghost get closer. They look at the wings on his back, and it's like, yeah, how great is that, man? So yeah, Nomar then gets pulled in for questioning. Angela confronts him, and she's like, you know what? I've got an idea in order to get you into Diaz's party. Then we go back to Ghost's house, where his daughter's crying because she didn't get the part, and Ghost is like, you know what, Tasha, so what, she didn't get the part. The other kid must have been better, but she just comes across here as a spoiled, rich bitch. And you know what? My patience for Tasha is seriously wearing thin these days, and I just do not give a fuck about her, if I'm being honest, in the slightest. Then we get some scenes where Ghost is talking to Sean. He's like, you will get your time, but only when I decide you're ready, which I think is a fair enough point to make, being honest. Then we move on to the agents. They're trying to like crack down what they're going to do, but Medina is questioning Angela here, saying, are you fucking Greg? Obviously she's like, holy shit, how does he know about that? Then this old guy shows up at Truth. Cantos is trying to get a hold of Ghost, but then Tasha just blatantly removes her. I get it, right? She wants Ghost to focus more on her, etc, etc. But I mean, he's a fucking important businessman. But again, see this need of him needing to be like available for every little issues down at this nightclub. I feel like it just feels a wee bit forced here. I'm not in the nightlife scene, but surely the top guy isn't fucking required. Tommy then arrives with his date. Ghost automatically from the get-go here is very pissed because he knows she works at his place, and obviously that's not good because he doesn't want Tommy mixing business with pleasure, I guess you could say. But I guess you could also argue is like the fact she works at the club, she could reveal some secrets to his wife, so to speak. But then again, his wife goes to the club, so that argument is kind of the windy because I guess she could tell his wife there or whatever. But at the end of the day, what is Ghost's true like anger towards this decision for Tommy? I'm not too sure. But to be honest, they have a meal and Ghost is just very awkward. He's very pissed off. You clearly see he just wants to be in Angela's pants, which is fair enough. Then him and Tommy have an argument, they square up to each other, and then they leave. So, yeah, kind of funny. We then get Nomar meeting with Angela and Medina. Turns out they've got him a snake. Because guess what? That's exactly what Diaz likes. And if he can give Diaz the snake, he can probably get closer to his inner circle. So, yeah. But then Tommy's new girlfriend says the Tommy in the elevator about he's probably just raging because he's cheating on his wife, and then Tommy obviously raging at this fucking punches it because this is very idiotic for her though to actually like. But I understand she probably thinks she's closer to Tommy what he is, but Ghost is like the top man, right? Gossiping about who he's fucking behind his wife's back is not a good thing. to do. I mean, it's a fucking idiotic thing to do. So I can completely understand here why Tommy was completely and utterly pissed, to be honest. Greg then shows up at Angela's house. He leaves his key in, so it looks like that's not really going anywhere. After their wee talk, Tasha's then like trying to flirt with Sean, trying to get information out of him, but it's just no happening. Cantos then appears at Greg's place of work, and at this point, not Greg's place of work, Ghost's house, and Ghost ain't happy about the fact that he's turned up at his house, which I feel like is fair enough. Then we see some woman changing her shoes, and then this is when we get like the finale part of this episode. Nomar delivers the snake to Diaz, who's absolutely loving life. And you kind of get at this point, Ghost ain't happy because he finds out his daughter did get the part, but it's only because his wife went meddling with it. You know, playing the race card sort of thing. He wanted it the legit way, damn it. Tommy and then Tasha are like smoking weed in the car, fair enough. Then the stripper who we've seen with those shoes takes Diaz to the back room. This is the same woman that was from Miami. And I just knew at this point, right, well, I say it looking good for Diaz. But as this is going on, you've obviously got the Jamaicans that are arriving at the same time. But then as this is going on, you've got Ghost and Angela then making hot, sweet love, baby. In the in her room, in her hotel. No, it actually looks like a hotel room. But as that's going on, Diaz actually gets stabbed by the stripper. It looks like he's gonna die. He has like coughing up blood, and there's a lot of blood. But he might not die. I kind of get the feeling that he'll live, and then also that's going to create a bit of friction between his crew and Ghost and Tommy's crew and shit. So interesting, but Nomar's pretty stupid here. He should have seen this coming. And then we see both points of view from Ghost and Angela. Tommy phones Ghost to tell him about Diaz, and then Greg phones, I believe it was Greg, who phoned Angela to tell her about Diaz. So yeah, looking forward to episode 6. Obviously, going to be a big deal here about what's going to happen with Diaz. But again, I just feel like it's a good show. It's got my interest. I'm looking forward to how it goes on. I've seen people commenting saying it gets a lot better, but it just feels it feels like they're playing things very safe and like dragging things out, which I think's fine. Like, but I'll be interested to see where it is in like 2 or 3 seasons time if it's lived up to expectations. But it's good. It's got my interest. I'm watching episodes pretty regularly now, so yeah, looking forward to the next one. But until then, guys, I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. I need to know who you with. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. It's episode 6 of season 1 of Par, and this one is called Who You With. And things have definitely stepped up this episode as the big man, Kanan kicks off the episode. We're in prison. He's revealed that his court case could be getting thrown out and he could be getting released a lot sooner due to like a corrupt officer essentially, which, perfect timing. I'm glad that 50 Cent ain't getting wasted in prison for like 6 seasons. Spoiler alert, at least he's going to get out very soon. But I'm glad of this. This is definitely the correct decision. We then see Ghost and Tommy talking with one of the guys. To be honest, I've actually no idea what this guy's name is, but I'm well aware of who it is. It's one of like the leaders of like the crews that they sell and distribute drugs to. He plays a pretty big part in the next few episodes, so I should remember his name. But I feel like they've done a good job with Ruiz. But in terms of like this guy, I have no idea. I would be absolutely having a pure guess, man. Ghost and Tommy talk, and Tommy has to remind Ghost that it's his wife's birthday. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, I thought you forgot. He's like, nah. Tasha, I remember it's your birthday, man. Of course I didn't, man. He's too busy getting stuck into Angela's knickers, man, to even know about this. We then see Nomar. He's getting wired up, which, of course, they're making loads of jokes about. It doesn't really look like at this point it's going to go all that good for him. He's like, I thought you were the snake, man. He's like, shut the fuck up. Which I thought was funny. And at this point, Tommy and his new date are going forward. Then we see Sean. He visits his dad in jail. Kind of gives his dad the lowdown. His dad's like, here, trust me, boy. And I just cannot wait for when Kanan's out in the street. Really looking forward to it. Angela and Ghost go to a hotel room, but then she receives a devastating phone call
and she has to go. It turns out her dad's in a nursing home, and he's just fading. His dementia, or whatever, is kicking in. We see her here. She breaks down, and he sees Ghost, and he's like, "Ghost, you're that criminal. You're that drug dealer. You're that thug. You bastard." And this is a joke as well at the same time because Tommy phones Ghost. He's like, "Right, we gotta go meet Ruiz," and Ghost just completely blows Tommy off here. He's like, "Nah, I want to sit with Angela," which I think Ghost's priorities need to be laid straight here. I mean, Tommy is going here into an essential death trap. If Ruiz's crew suspects him, which they kind of do, this is absolutely disastrous for him. Absolutely disastrous for him going in here. And Ghost is just willing to let him go in alone. Like, let's be real, like, Ruiz's crew could have absolutely killed Tommy. And I feel like not much gets done about how, like, little Ghost does, but how much Tommy does. I get it. He's trying to run a crew, he's trying to go legit. But what I would have liked this season is like a proper scene of Tommy confronting Ghost. I know you could say it's season one, maybe they want to save that for later down the line or something, but I feel like how Ghost has been treating this has been nothing short of a joke. So Tommy gets patted down, he goes into the apartment complex to where Ruiz is, and he pays him a wee visit. Has to give up all his guns and his knives. Meanwhile, while this is all going down, obviously Nomar is in the same building, or the same room of the flat, the apartment, whatever you want to call it. And he's wearing a wire. So they hear someone, but they obviously can't hear it quite who it is. Lamar then pulls up at the door where Ruiz and Tommy are talking, and he tells the guys guarding the door to go. I've got Ruiz's back. And then he puts the wire up to the door. They don't really hear all the conversation because it's muffled, but they obviously hear words like ghost, and it finally gets them getting that name, Ghost. But at this point, we have Tommy and Ruiz talking. Tommy's like, "You really think this was us?" And Ruiz is like, "Hell, I don't know." But they're kind of suspicious about who it could be. But once Ruiz says it was a woman, Tommy puts two and two together. Like, it was a woman that attacked their courier back at the end of episode one. So it must be the same woman. She goes by wearing these pink sneakers. Oh yeah. So you know what? This is a pretty good meet and a pretty good sit down between these two. So obviously peace has been made. It's went all right for Tommy. I guess it could have ended a lot worse. But what's Ghost doing? Ghost does not give a fuck about these guys, man. He really doesn't. And then we hear Medina. He's in the fan outside the building. He's like, "Fuck it, I want to look at Ghost if he's in the building," and he storms in. But at this point, Tommy and Ruiz make good. And as Tommy's leaving, it's quite interesting here because Medina comes up the elevator as soon as Tommy uses the stairs, and then like really suspiciously, he's like, I was looking for floor 15," and like, "No man, down one, bro," which I thought was quite a funny scene. Tommy then phones Ghost, and then Ghost like blanks him again. It's like, what in the fuck is going on here? We then see Ghost and Angela. They're having like a milkshake, and Tommy finally goes to where he's at because he finds this information at Ficantos. Obviously, it's like the first time Tommy and Angela have seen each other in like 18 years, but I thought this was actually quite a good scene. And he's like, "You know who'd like to hear all these stories that we're all telling each other here? Your wife, Ghost, Tasha." And it's like kind of like twisting the knife. Then he leaves, and Angela and Ghost kind of share like a look at each other, and they leave. And she's like, "What are we doing, Ghost?" And Ghost is like, "Yeah, but I love you, Angela." How's this relationship going to play out? I know it's obviously waiting on the big reveal for her finding out that he's Ghost, which I'm looking forward to. But it's going to be interesting to see if he completely cuts all ties with Tasha before she finds out. I think that is what's going to be um, completely interesting. We then get Ghost confronting Tommy, and I like this scene. We kind of see these two button heads, and then Ghost is like, "Well, you said that it couldn't have been. You said it had to be Ruiz, and now you think it's not Ruiz," which is a valid point. Everybody that seems they think it is, it turns out that it's not. But I guess you've got to trust your gut at some point or another. We then have Tasha's birthday party. Not an awful lot goes down here. Tasha spots the earrings that Tommy's girlfriend stole. She confronts her about it, and Tommy lies and says, "Yeah, I bought her them," which is a pretty extreme lie for Tommy to make. But see, to be honest, he's probably thinking, "Well, Ghost has fucking jobbed me out, so you know what? I'm going to actually back my girlfriend here," which I think is fair enough for Tommy. they go down this route, if I'm being honest. Tasha then starts singing, but then Ghost receives a phone call for Angela, and he takes it, obviously pissing Tasha off as she was singing, which I think was wrong. We then see Cantos and Ghost, they meet with one of these like nightclub billionaire guys, man. Like, amount of money I've got, so look like they're going to open a chain here. Tommy then reveals to his girlfriend what he finally is. He says, I'm the biggest fucking drug dealer in NYC, which I thought was pretty funny. But again, can he really trust her? She could be a fucking. I'm not saying she is a fed, like, but she could have been. Absolutely could have been. Angela and Ghost then up in bed, and then we just end with like a montage of those two. Get it on, get it on. Sean then buys Tasha like a necklace, which she's like, I can't take this. What would Ghost think? And then he's like, yeah, right. And I'm like, oh, Sean, don't let it slip that that he's pumping somebody. God damn, do not let it slip. And then as the episode ends, we see Angela going through the tapes, of course, that the wire that Nomar was wearing played out, and she writes the name Ghost down. So at this point, the FBI have finally found out, like, could this guy be called Ghost? But obviously, they would think that Ghost would be Tommy. But obviously, they didn't see Tommy, so that's it. Makes it very, very intriguing, guys. But anyway, I want you to leave your thoughts down below. And until next time, that is it for this episode of Power. I'm gonna get a 7. If I could give it a 7.5, I would. But the only way we do halves, guys, on this channel, if one of us gives an 8, one of us gives a 7. But guess what? I'm the only one reviewing this show. I feel like it is the best episode of the season so far. But we'll see what can surpass it. I'm not giving it an 8, but I'll give it a 7. But it's still the best episode. So anyway, guys, till next time, leave your thoughts down below, and peace. Loyalty, hustle, respect. Minus the last two, it is Par episode 7 of season 1. And we have got quite an interesting episode. We've got the penultimate episode of season 1. And we kick off the episode essentially with Tasha explaining to all our stuck up mates that how her and Ghost met. Nothing really mental going on here. Just, oh, he had a gun in the glove compartment, then I put it in my handbag, but the officers didn't search me. And then after this, he bought me a diamond ring. Very good. And it's interesting to know that Tasha's only 30, and you're going to assume this happened like 10 years ago. So I'm going to assume Ghost must be like mid-30s or approaching 40 at this stage of the game. We then kick off with another montage with him and Angela. And I tell you what, like, these wee spicy scenes, like, I mean, they have to be. Obviously, like, some stuff they film, and obviously they don't do anything. That's most stuff. But I mean, this was like borderline. Like, here, these two must be getting it on. Like, you'd almost think that Angela and Ghost would be in a relationship in real life to like film this. But I kind of like that bit part. It is very, vulgar and straight to the point and all that good stuff, and you get to see a lot of diddies. So I'm not complaining too much, especially Big Angela, because she's a fucking roaster. But I mean, I guess you could say maybe it's getting a bit repetitive, but who cares about this? Her sister, Paz, then confronts Angela's like, oh, what you doing? And she's like, oh, I've rekindled things with Ghost. And she's like, what? He's like, well, how about you bring him to dinner? So, how are we going to see that go down? Who knows? But then, we see Tommy, he goes meets with a bunch of Russians in this like sauna. And obviously a sauna is roasting, and Tommy's sitting in there with his leather jacket. I thought this was actually a really funny, sweet scene, because the sweat is absolutely dripping off him. And when I say dripping off him, I mean dripping off him. Tommy and Ghost don't really know who's the next guy to blame for all these attacks, so Tommy's like, we gotta do something. So Tommy goes to Diaz, and these two essentially come up to the conclusion that it has to be Rolla is the one that's wiped him out. What's this group called? The R2Ks? They've always had beef with my crew. So apparently Diaz always had beef with them. Who really knows at this point? We do have Tasha and Sean getting a wee bit closer here. Who knows what this is going to do? We've got Nomar in the safe house. He's kind of doing his own thing. This episode, not an awful lot going down. He does mention the fact to Angela that those two crews were beefing, which kind of points the FBI and Angela to Rolla. We then have Tommy pulling up at some guy's house. His house is weird. Um, I didn't catch this guy's name. Splits, was it? Something like Splits. But this he plays Marlowe in The Wire. So I like the fact that this show has got like loads of actors and people that we know. I feel like that helps an awful lot. But essentially, in the conversation between Ruiz and Tommy, it's pretty much Rolla is going to get killed here. There is no two ways about it. And the FBI are also onto it. And when Tommy confronts Ghost about it, Ghost just doesn't seem that bothered. He's sitting there, he's got the gun. You think, does Ghost really have what it takes to pull? I'm not saying he doesn't have what it takes to pull the trigger, but is his head in the right place to actually do this? I wouldn't be too sure about it. He then phones Kenan, and it's like the first interaction we really see between these two, like phone call. Why is Kenan confirms that the woman in the pink shoes done it, and it had to be Rolla who ordered her to do it because he went down to Miami a few weeks ago, or was it a month ago, something like that. So this put the final nail in the coffin for Ghost. He's like, fuck it, it has to be that bastard. It has to be. We then see Paz and Angela, they're cooking, but then Ghost phones him, says that he's busy, he won't be able to attend the dinner. But he's having dinner with old rich guys instead, because of course, Truth's expansion, with these guys, I just did not care for this. This is where the episode, in my opinion, drastically like sucked. I would go as far as saying it sucked. You've got Tasha talking to two like older white women, and then you've got Ghost talking to these guys, and it's just like what? And then his wife's like, Ghost doesn't have to agree to anything, and it's like, Tasha, know your role and shut your mouth. Let your fucking husband take care of the business. And he kind of calls her out on it, which I enjoyed to a degree, but these scenes don't do it for me. I don't mind the nightclub business. I don't, but not these old bastards, man. This does nothing for me. It really, really doesn't. I do not like this whatsoever. Angela Nomar talking again, definitely pointing it towards Rolla, but obviously the FBI are yet to act on this, which will obviously be crucial. Tommy's freaking out. He doesn't think Ghost is going to do what has to be done, but then Ghost is. He takes the subway, he's walking through the snow, he goes into Rolla's house. Rolla opens the fridge, and the light of the fridge shines on Ghost, and Ghost's like, so we're going to get 10 inches tonight. And Rolla's like, is that so? He's like, I'd offer you a drink, but I know you'd say no. And then Rolla's like, so obviously you've still got your doubts, and Ghost's like, no. He's like, nah, come on, Ghost. If you didn't have your doubts, I wouldn't be sitting down having a drink with you. Which is absolutely on the money. Let's be real. Then Ghost is like kind of zoning it, man. He's like, oh, what's going on here? My name's Ghost, and I'm absolutely zoning it. And like he's replaying the conversation over and over in his head. 10 inches. 10 inches tonight. It's like, is that what he thinks he's gonna fucking deliver to Angela's front back door? Or something. He ends up killing Rolla. Then the FBI show up and they're kind of like, too late, Angela and all the crew, Angela. What's Angela's Ned? It's not even Ned. I don't know. But then get like a bit of an end of montage. Ghost is like stripping down in this like warehouse, like storage lock. So obviously when he commits these crimes, he must store his clothes here or something. Which is quite interesting. Ghost then turns up at Tommy's door, says it's done, gives Tommy the gun. But as this is going on, Ghost is kind of skeptical about talking about this because Tommy's girlfriend's like sleeping over, and he's like, nah, she's sleeping. Turns out she's not sleeping. Will this be an absolute disaster for these guys? I would not be surprised. Then Ghost talks to Angela and says, I wanted you to be at that meeting with the nightclub people, the infestors, not my wife. Again, I'm intrigued to see how this is going to go down. How long are they going to drag out this Ghost and Angela relationship? I think I guess that she is going to figure out at the end of the end of season 2. I've no idea how it's going to go down, but you cannot drag it out any longer, in my opinion. And then we see Kanan sitting down in prison. I like the fact that we ended the episode with this big bastard. And it turns out he is the one who's actually been calling all the shots, and he is the guy with the pink shoes. Well, say he's the guy with the pink shoes. He's the one ordering the girl with the pink shoes to do all this stuff. So, fuck. What's this going to spell for Tommy? What's this going to spell for Ghost? Kanan making these moves. He's getting out soon. He's got his son in the play. God damn. It was an intriguing end to the episode. I'm going to give it a 7. Could have been an 8. But I feel like the whole old guys and Ghost talking really took away from the episode for me. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get an 8 out of 10. Up next, season finale. Looking forward to it. But until then, peace. It is season finale time with Par Season 1, and we're looking at the episode Best Laid Plans, damn it. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to discussing this, guys, giving my thoughts, because I think it's absolutely the best episode of the series so far. And we're going to kick off with this show, damn it. We kick off with Ghost. He's going on a run. He's running. He's got his headphones on. Looks pretty cold in New York this morning. And we're seeing a montage of him shooting Rolla. We're then seeing Tommy in bed, pounding away. As the FBI are trying to figure out here, you've got Angela, of course. They're trying to what are we going to do? Is Nomar going to give us enough information? Who is Ghost? All this talk is going down in this episode. Tommy finds out here though that his girlfriend did see Ghost last night, and he's like, "Why didn't you say so?" Imagine she said something and Ghost was there. That would just have been so awkward. And then as Angela is trying to ring Ghost, they're talking. Red Shoes walks past Ghost as his driver pulls up, and it's like, damn. She was about to kill him, but then Sean saved Ghost's life. So yeah, I'm interested to see this dynamic. Really looking forward to it. I would then cut to Ghost's and Tasha's children's play, their daughter. It's an alright play. It kind of reminded me of a scene in The Sopranos where they would focus heavily on shit like this. After it, one of the teachers comes up and thanks Tasha for her donation, which is obviously proof to Ghost that here, our daughter didn't earn it because she's a good singer. It's because you fucking paid them off. This sets Ghost off in a wee tyrant, and obviously he just wants to be with Angela now. It's like, hey, if you want a job out Angela, or no, job out your wife Tasha, then go ahead and do it. Well, I mean, I'd get stuck into Angela too, son. So, yeah. But then see Tasha talking to her mum. She's like, he's cheating on me. Obviously, we had it start of this season here. Yeah, Ghost isn't like every other two-bit gangster, man. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that to Tasha. And she's like, this money is unfiltered. You gotta do something else. We do see later on in the episode that, I mean, basically all that Tasha does in the rest of this episode it is move some of Ghost's money and then account of her own, which is smart. Because at the end of the day, her doing that, since his money, a lot of it's, like, dodgy, if they do split up, will he even know about it? That's the smart thing, I guess, but yeah, I'm going to assume that's going to lead to that at some point. We then see Nomar essentially has, like, a final scene with Ruiz's daughter here, the kiss, oh my gosh, it's nonsense. Tommy and Ghost then end up getting kidnapped by the cartel, Lobos, he threatens him. And then he lets them go, only if they double their stuff. Tommy agrees to it, but Ghost is like a bit reluctant, and then he's finally agreed to it. It's like, hold on here, Ghost. The cartel are literally on the verge of fucking killing you, big man, and he's still wanting to play like hard to get with him. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Just accept where you are and know about it, big man. That's what you have to do. I don't know, this cartel guy just seems very weird. He definitely comes across as gay. He definitely, like, his mannerisms, or is he just flamboyant, guys? What's it going to be? What do you guys think? We then see Tommy and Ghost discussing shit as it's went down. Tommy then visits Ruiz. Looks like everything's going to be good. Tommy, of course, they come to the terms of well, sure, we'll do guns with you, Ruiz. We'll get you guns, and that gets Ruiz on board. Nomar is then worried. He phones Angela. She lies to him, says, here, no, it's alright. The FBI definitely aren't pulling this case, and we're going to get you a protective witness, which he buys. So, yeah, this is essentially here not good for Nomar. We see more scenes between Tommy and Ghost discussing what needs to be done, damn it. And then we cut to Kanan talking to his dad, and his dad's like, hey, Kanan, man, or Sean, when I get out, I know you're pally with your uncle Ghost, but you're with me now, man. Kanan looks like he's getting out, and spoiler alert, guys, he gets out very soon, in about 10 minutes time. Baby, he is getting out. But yeah, Greg and the big man. Greg and the big man. Greg and the big man. Greg and Angela, yeah, they're both not really happy about the fact that what's her name? I can't remember her name. Head FBI, like Frankie, is like pulling this case, even though like she could give them more time. The decision's not really coming for her, but you understand what I'm coming from there. Tommy and Tasha then smoke a joint, and he gets her the earrings that essentially that his girlfriend stole from her, which just makes it more obvious in my opinion. And he's like, "You should do it, and I thought I'd just treat you, Tasha." And then they're smoking weed here like they're fucking 15, thinking they're tough, man. What's this about, man? I wasn't a fan of this scene, to be honest. But in the final, like, third of the episode is when things really heats up in a noncy way as well. Noir is texting Maurice's daughter, and she's like, "Can you send me something to remember you by?" And then Noir foolishly, sends a picture of his dick out, and it's him, and with a picture of his face. Ruiz is in like, "Oh, you need to get off your phone, sweetie, and do your homework." He then looks at it, finds a picture of a dick, and then we see a text to Noir saying, "Here, can you meet me at the park? I want to see you one last time." And of course, Noir foolishly agrees to this. Of course he does. Stupid. Also, it looks like Ghost and Angela are going to head down to Miami for the whole club thing. Like, it's going to be their wee retreat. They're going to go down there a couple of times a week. What happened to shagging in New York, damn it? Is that illegal? Can we not shag in New York anymore? Ruiz then phones Tommy. He's like, "Tommy, I've got one more job for you to do, and if you do this, we're fucking golden, man. We are golden." He's like, "One of my soldiers, he's fucking my little girl, so I want you to kill him." Tommy agrees to it. Ghost and Tasha share like one goodbye here. You can clearly see that their relationship is pretty much, I'd almost say it's unmendable at this point, to be honest. And then we get the scene where Nomar is waiting at the park for Ruiz's daughter, but of course we see Tommy in the distance stalking him. Nomar thinks, "Fuck, she's not coming." He thinks he's getting chased, so he decides to phone Angela and say that he's going to his aunt's house in Queens. Tommy here is wearing like a hat that like covers his ears. He looks like a proper badass. I'm going to stick him on the thumbnail because he just does. Like, there's no two ways about it. He looks like a badass. And then we get this like really tense scene where Tommy is chasing Ruiz through like the subway tunnel. There is a scene though where like Ruiz obviously uses, not Ruiz, Tommy's chasing Nomar through the subway tunnels, and they obviously have to like scan to like get through the tunnel, through the payments bit. And then like someone opens the emergency exit, and obviously it's just for Tommy to get through. But to me, that seems a bit forced. I understand, like, there's no other really way through, but why would some woman just open the emergency exit, which automatically is going to sound the alarm? Anyway, that aside, he chases him on the subway train, and Lamar's freaking out. Angela ain't picking up because she is currently getting boned by the big man. She is getting boned by Ghost, who then has to go and attend the opening of his like another night at his club. Of course, big day, man. We're gonna open one in Miami, probably, baby. Got a problem with that, man? You got a problem with that, homie? Lamar finally makes it to his aunt's house in Queens, and Tommy follows him. He's like, "Hey." Lamar turns around. He's like, "Hey, you like to fuck little girls?" It's like, holy shit, that literally came out of nowhere. Tommy then like stabs him quite a good few times here. And as that's happening, we cut back to Ghost's nightclub where he confronts Tommy's girlfriend. She's like, "Oh, I've got you, Ghost." Like, basically kind of like a wee bit of a threat to him. But you need to stay away, sort of thing. And he says that to her. And then out of nowhere, the one with the pink shoes whips out her gun and tries to shoot Ghost, but he tries to pull Tommy's girlfriend, like say something, and she ends up taking the bullet, and everyone's running out, panicking. Ghost tries to chase her. But as this is going on, the police, we've got Angela and Greg showing up to the house in Queens. Tommy manages to escape at the back as Ruiz, Nomar's dying. Nomar did utter the words "ghost," though, to Tommy. He's like, "How the fuck do you know that?" And then like Tommy manages to escape. It's like, this is really good because we got to see like Tommy in action. And you know what? He's a proper fucking badass. He stabs this guy. And, like, he did it with so much like charisma as well. Like, hey, how you like to fuck little girls? And then he jumps over the fence and he hid. Proper Metal Gear Solid stealth here. Ghost is freaking out, trying to figure out like where the fuck this woman's went. He can't find her. He then goes outside. Bam, nowhere to be seen. And as all this is going down, if this isn't enough, Kanan gets picked up by Sean outside the prison. So Kanan is officially out of jail. Nomar is dead. Tommy's escaped. Ghost is then confronted by the two FBI agents he paid off a while ago. And they're like, "Yeah, Ghost, we're gonna have to close this place for at least down for a month. Murder's bad, homie." And that was it. That's how we end it. So you know what? Really looking forward to season 2. Ghost, obviously, things aren't looking good for him. Tommy's just killed Nomar, so him and Release are going to be tight. Kanan's out of jail is probably the thing I'm looking forward to most. And also the fact Tommy's girlfriend's been shot, so what's his reaction going to be? All in all, guys, a very good season finale. Really saved by the final third. I feel like the first half wasn't really that all up to scratch, but the final third really picked up. And, you know, a lot of action, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. That is best laid plans. And until next time, peace.
That is it for the season 1 retrospective of Par, the TV show. Origins are in the corner, looking forward to it, guys. But leave your thoughts down below. Till next time, peace.